Welcome to Inside Fire Rescue. I'm Chief Keith Bryant of the Oklahoma City Fire Department. We're going to use this edition of Inside Fire Rescue to educate you about how we respond to weather-related incidents. We've selected these topics so we can highlight the work of our firefighters, but we also want to give you some tips on how you can react in extreme weather conditions to keep yourself and your family safe. As trees cracked and power lines fell under the weight of ice this winter, our firefighters quickly responded to meet the needs of our citizens in record numbers. Let's hear some of their stories. We're here at Fire Station 30 today, out by Lake Hefner, to talk to some of the crew about their experiences during the most recent winter storm that severely struck central Oklahoma. I'd like to introduce you to some of the crew here at Station 30. District Chief Steve Lumry, Lieutenant Scott Owens, Lieutenant Mark Calhoun, and Major Gary Jones. First of all, Major Jones, tell us about some of the challenges that you faced during that time.
So the challenges that we probably faced immediately was the fact that we did have icy roads to contend with as the storm rolled in. After it initially became a little heavier, we had debris that was falling from trees and down power lines that prevented our access to some of the areas quickly. And then some of the areas we had abandoned vehicles that were stuck or had been abandoned due to mechanical difficulties. It made it difficult to arrive on scene in a timely manner or to take care of what we needed to take care of.
Lieutenant Owens, do any particular calls during that whole time period stand out to you?
Yeah, we had one particular ride that really stood out to me. As Major Jones stated, we responded to down power lines, and we were at one particular power line that was down, and we were waiting for OG&E to show up, and the occupants were having trouble with their meter box, and so we were there waiting for OG&E to show up. And when they got there, we took them to the backyard to show them where the problem was and what we were experiencing. And we noticed smoke coming from the block behind us. And we went around to that block, and we actually had a house fire going on the block behind us while we were sitting there waiting for OG&E. It did help us on our response times, and we were limited damage to the house because we were there so quickly.
Chief Lumry, tell us some of the things that the public might not know about how you have to change your tactics or other parts of your operation when faced with these conditions.
What the public may not know is that our response times are going to be slowed down because ice on the streets. Obviously, we can't drive any faster than what they can safely. So when we arrive on the scene, it's generally a little bit later. If it's a fire alarm, in most cases, it has a longer time for the fire to get going, and so that causes more damage. Other tactical things that we have to change are, because of the icy conditions, our personnel have to be more aware of their footing and be more careful on that. When we go on roof to ventilate, we have to be extremely careful up there with the icy conditions. And then also with just the cold weather in itself, we have to rotate crews more frequently so that we can get them warmed back up.
Lieutenant Owens, tell us some of the things as a apparatus operator that you have to bear in mind or take under consideration in maintaining your vehicle, your equipment during extreme conditions like those.
Well, first and foremost, with the cold weather, we have to make sure that we drain our pumps because if we get out on a scene for an extended period of time, the pumps will start to freeze and cause that pump to go inoperable. Another thing is we got to make sure we have tire chains on hand at all times, ready to use. And a lot of times we just put those on when the inclement weather hits. We just put them on for safety precautions. Another thing is we have to carry something on the rig in case we do get a house fire. A lot of times the fire hydrants are frozen shut, and we got to find some way to get those open. And then just the valves on the rig, we got to make sure we lubricate them all the time to keep them from freezing and where they'll operate during the cold weather. Lieutenant Calhoun, you've been on the department for a while, and obviously during this winter storm and those extreme conditions, the department responded to a record number of calls during that time. Going back 2 years ago to the high grass fire season that we had, how do you think that compares?
Well, I believe that as far as the emergency aspect of it, we're all concentrated on being able to deliver the service as fast as we can to be able to end what our problem is to begin with, what we're called on. Whenever we have a grass season and the fire season's going on and you've got it's pretty much an emergency situation, you want to get out there and make sure that you take care of what's going on out there as soon as possible, keep the houses and people safe. When you have an extended event, you've got more of the concentrated population area right around our station that in a lot of cases we were out there making sure that people were preventing themselves from getting harmed. It was power lines down, so we actually in a preventive type of a situation instead of trying to correct something that was already ongoing. But it was just one of those situations where we tried to get there as fast as we could and keep people as safe as we could and get there as safe as we could.
And the ice storm affected a lot larger area than what the grass fires generally do. They're a more concentrated area. The ice storms affected the entire city, so every citizen was impacted in some way.
What would you want the public to know about how to keep themselves more safe during extreme winter weather conditions and maybe in a sense make our jobs a little bit easier?
I would say probably for them to watch the weather, plan ahead. In Oklahoma, we've got great weather people, and they keep you well informed, well in advance of these type of storms coming in. So plan ahead and be prepared. Have plenty of food on hand. Have a backup radio or something like that with a battery powered. If they do have to be out on the streets, drive with extreme caution. Pay attention way ahead of them, what's going on, and also watch in the rearview mirror to what's coming up behind them. That way, when it's ahead of them, they have plenty of time to stop. And if it's us coming up behind them, they can see us coming enough time to move over so that we can get through.
And I guess probably the only thing I would add is that, you know, we always need to be cognizant of our use of space heaters and candles as far as alternative heating sources, because that's where we encounter a lot of problems.
That's exactly right. And be well aware of what the CO poisoning signs are, because when they bring heaters inside the house, or we actually had people that brought charcoalers inside the house, which we do not recommend. And we had a lot of people that had CO poisoning that we had to take care of.
Well, gentlemen, we certainly appreciate the insight that you provided our viewers and the suggestions that you gave them, and again, the great job that we did during that time. So thank you very much, and thanks for having us out, and appreciate you joining us on Inside Fire Rescue.
Thank you.
That does it for Inside Fire Rescue. Thanks again for watching, and please remember, smoke detectors and fire prevention save lives. We'll see you next time.